I want to tell you a story about a typical researcher that we all know. This is a person that comes into the profession that they were the top person in their undergraduate degree in their school. They get into good institution for their graduate school, and they decide to push away a lot of the world because they are wanting to perform at the best possible level that they can perform at. In the academic game, in just like everything else in life, it's often very much competition, and you're competing with other people in the way that you perform better as you push away the world. And this person does spectacularly well, and they get early career awards. We have these things called early career awards that symbolize that this person was relatively productive early on. And then they go on and they live a very successful life. And then some point in their mid-30s, they look around, they get tenure, they look around, and they realize that they don't have any family or friends. They realize that they're very much alone. They realize that they're quite sad. But they keep working anyways because they're highly successful. And that's what highly successful people actually do. And they continue to work, and they get more job demands because everybody is so impressed with them. And as they continue to work, and as they climb the ladder, and they get more and more rewards, they become extraordinarily successful. They become an editor at a journal. Everybody knows who they are, and yet they're deeply sad inside, and they're eroded. And at some point, they realize that they don't have a lot of people around them, and then they die. And that's the story of a lot of people that go through a profession thinking that the career is the only thing. There's this great book that I had to read back in the day when I began my PhD at a really good organizational theory class. And one of the books that we had to read was by this guy called Morgan, and it was The Images of Organizations. You can look this up. And it's a really great book. And one of the images of organizations is a machine. And the machine of the academic institution, of the business of universities, is to produce ideas. And it's a well-refined machine at this moment. And it produces ideas quite well. It takes in this raw resource of mind, some books and some technology, and then at the end of it, it squishes out a number of different ideas, and it goes plop, 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 plop. All these ideas are produced, and a lot of ideas are produced. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. And we don't know which ones are good or bad, and we have some metrics on what they actually look like. But at the end of the day, it's a machine in producing these particular ideas. Now, another image of life in general is a life where you have meaning. And you come into it, and I don't know what this exact image is, but I think it's probably closer to a religion. I don't think it's in the Morgan book. But where you have meaning, where there's a sense of obligation, a sense of, I do this because it feels good to me. I don't know why, but it feels good to me. And this image allows you to go into all sorts of settings, whether it is horrible in terms of maybe you're picking up dog crap every day, but you're the best dog crap picker-upper because it's something that gives you meaning. Now, this image is completely different. And somebody can go into this particular setting and do really quite well. And they can pick up as much dog crap no matter what. And they can go through this and feel good about doing this at the end of the day. Now, both of these are very much imaginary images. And those two images are very striking, I understand. But what we often forget when we're in the profession is we forget about these images, or even sometimes what you might call the levels of analysis in terms of what the roles are. Now, if you look at it as the business of universities, nobody's ever going to tell you not to produce more. Nobody is ever going to sort of hold back. And if you embrace everything about the institutions that we actually have in universities and everything in the glory of universities and the research effort, what you realize is you become very much a machine, a product of that thing that you're producing. Now, there's a famous person. Please don't get upset with me when I mention him, but he was probably one of the first people to talk about this. Maybe there was other scholars, I don't know. Karl Marx actually talked about this, and now I'm going to get a whole bunch of all you internet folks are going to think that I'm a communist and all the rest of it. Called the alienation from work. This was a term that I learned many years ago. Now, there is this other image where you feel a sense of duty, you feel sort of, positive from doing grinding work. And no matter what the horrible nature of what you could be in, you still can get a sense of duty. There was another person on the other side that was Viktor Frankl. And Viktor Frankl was a Holocaust survivor. And he looked around and he was wondering, as a psychologist, trying to think about, why is it that some people got through these very horrible situations and still did okay mentally? And, he sort of thought that there was a different way of how you frame the situation and how you maybe got a sense of meaning from this. And it's a pretty good idea in terms of how we frame and process things. The human mind, how we see the world, matters a lot often. And how we process things and think about things matters a tremendous amount. So what I want you to take away from this imaginary story is I tell you a lot on this channel about, things that are related to mindset. And you might think that I'm, Mr. Rogers. But it's far from the truth. I actually see in my world, the way that I imagine the world, is that most people are extraordinarily indifferent. They don't give a crap, right? They don't care about what you do and what you're about. There are a few people that are going to be really encouraging, but for some reason, because we're evolutionary programmed, we're not going to listen to that much. We're going to listen to the one person in the corner out of 1,000 that you've seen that is screaming at you and telling you that you are a bad person or that you don't know what you're doing and all of that kind of stuff. I don't know why we're evolutionary programmed. I can go into a whole spiel about this. But what we tend to do is focus on that one negative thing. And so it's our job to really fight against that negative voice that goes on, that can easily resonate in our minds and echo in our minds repeatedly. So it's our job to continuously get back up and say, you know what, I'm not going to listen to that. I'm actually going to pay attention to things that give me meaning, that make me feel good. And it requires a constant effort every single day where you constantly push back against the mechanisms that drain us. And there's a lot of things that drain us in this world. It's not the university system, it's many different things. And so how do you do that? Well, you look at the world slightly differently. You also garner boundaries in your life. What I like to say, screw you to the rest of the world. You do things where you really focus on yourself, and you sometimes are very self-centered in terms of what you're doing. You look at a situation where somebody is being angry and you try to be kind of goofy and silly. It takes a tremendous amount of practice to do this, and it's very difficult to do. But over time, you learn how to do this. And over time, people learn that you are doing this. And so despite the fact that they might get angry with you, they realize that there's very little traction that they can actually get with that anger with you. So I want you to practice this on a daily basis. Go about realizing that the world is going to extract everything that they possibly can from you. And it will, because that is its job. It's an efficient machine. But your job is to also take a step back and say, how am I going to constantly get meaning? How am I going to make sure that I survive for a long time? How am I going to make sure that I am a good person every single day? That's where you need to be a little bit self-centered. Realize that doing things that are little kind of tiny things, like going for walks, saying hi to somebody, smiling, these little things, they expend energy. I know. They're not efficient. I know. Trust me, I know. But they're important parts of your life so that you do not lose yourself in the long run. And I encourage you to do that. Have a little bit of time where you sit down, watch some TV with friends and family. Do those little things. Have a little bit of chocolate today. All of those things are incredibly important for you so that you can survive and do well. And it's a balance. If you focus too much on this machine, this will disappear and shrivel up and die. If you focus too much on this, the machine is going to shrivel up and die. I just want you to figure out how to do this. It's not easy. I can't figure it out today, but it requires me to actively think about this on a daily basis. Keep it up. You got it. You do this for a long time, and something magical is going to happen inside. All right, take care, and have a wonderful day. Bye.